And now, as I do what I do motivational speaking in and out of the country. I still do what Kapli just said, because just off topic, one of the reasons why, for example, I choose to go into politics, and especially for the NA, which is National Assembly, is because I've seen many problems that our sportsmen and women have undergone through out this country. It is always a shame that sometimes we go to the streets instead of legislation. We talk about taxes, we talk about beneficiary retirement benefits for our sportsmen and women, which it has been a very big topic. But no one has ever actually thought about kind of legislation that can be able to protect our sportsmen and women. That is the only reason why I always tell people that it is one of the reasons why I decided out of private business to venture into that, so that we can be able to help our sportsmen and women, because they have done us a lot of proud, but unfortunately as a country we have never been able to reward them, but always bust them with taxes, with so many things. So I hope as we carry forward, we should work as a unit, we should work as a family, and I think this day is actually the very best that we can discuss so many things that affect our sportsmen and women. And that is why whatever affects our athletes or sportsmen and women, it affects all of us across the board. Whether you are a promoter, a journalist, coach, administrator, anything. So it is a very good opportunity for us to have a candid discussion and find a better way to move forward with our sports in this country. Otherwise, because we were told it is an open discussion, I would be happy to take up one or two questions. Thank you. Yes, and even way before, when I was still running, I would hear people getting $100,000 per competition, having contracts of $100,000, while I had no contract at all, but given facilities only to run, until after 2001, that I think I got a worthy contract. I think the biggest challenge that we have, and especially for the upcoming athletes, is that there's always stories. You know, you find Wilfred Bungei driving a Brad or whatever car, and you think that you want to get a car tomorrow. It is not possible. I was fortunate to have a coach and a manager who always reminded me that Wilfred, instant success is not always the best, and it doesn't have the best story. I was reminded during my training that money was never motivation. And Watson, I can tell you that, you know, throughout my life, money was never a motivation for me to run. That was the beginning. So I would go for a competition, not for money, but to perform. Because I was told those are just chapters. If you want to write a long book, a bigger book, with many chapters, it has to be longer. Otherwise, even if you run today and win the Olympics today, there is no story. You'll only have a one page. And I think as journalists, you understand what it means, you know, to have a real story that people can relate to. Being surrounded by guys who always want to challenge you to look at life in a different way, not as a sports person, but as a whole. To look at life as a journey. That is why money was never a motivation. And I said in the beginning that at a certain point I thought maybe if I ever win a diamond league that will qualify me to get $15,000, I would close the season. But immediately, my coach told me, Wilfred, forget it. We have the World Championships coming in the next few months. Go back for training. When I lost the Olympics in 2004, I was told there is 4 more years. So I would challenge anyone, because all the success that we do, whether you are a journalist or if you are a very good journalist, for example, that write a very good story, money will come your way. Or other media stations will want to put you and give you a better pay. If you're working hard in whatever job you do and people recognize what you are doing, automatically money comes in. So first and foremost, I would say look for the performance, because that is what will be able to pay. And, in fact, it is so much related, because I remember, and I think many athletes who are here bear me witness. Unfortunately, most of us, sometimes we lie a lot. And I'm sorry to say so. Sometimes somebody comes and say, I have a contract of $50,000. Sometimes you don't have that kind of a contract, but you are challenging, you're giving problems to young athletes who think that I've been given only 1,000 and somebody is being given, and maybe you beat this person in a race. So sometimes being truthful is better. You will be able to even to encourage those who are upcoming, because I would always tell them that for me, my contract was 0. I was only given facilities. After that, it was pushed 3,000, it climbed, and even when I say money is not a motivation, I remember when I won the Olympics and I announced my retirement, my agent then told me, Wilfred, what do you mean you're announcing retirement on international TV when I've negotiated the best contract you have ever had with the company I was running? I don't want to mention the company. And I told him, I'm done. It's both, people would see it as stupid. You have worked hard so many years. At the time that you are supposed to be making money, you announced retirement. But for me, I had a feeling that I had done my level best. And I'm happy that even I retired then. Because otherwise, I think if I had continued running and performed poorly, you would have not invited me here, and you would have not invited me for everything that I've worked with this company, with Soya, or any other person that I've worked with, had I continued and performed badly. So that is always a message that I carry, that the best thing you can do as a sports person, retire at the top. That way you will always have a name to be able to ride on for many, many years. To my friend, what he just mentioned is, for sure, let's have a conversation. My hope and my wish is to reward our retired sportsmen and women. And when I use that word, it means everybody else. If you have been able to represent this country anywhere, I don't think that this government is so poor that it cannot even raise 5,000, 10,000 a month. There are not so many. We find politicians always rewarding themselves huge amount of money for doing what? I'm sorry, that's what the seat that I will be running next year, but the name that I have is far much bigger than just that. So that is why I wish and hope that our politicians can look at our sportsmen and women and give them something. I would request also the journalists always push this thing that we should not see our retired sportsmen and women not being able to go to hospital. Paying for NHIF for them, 6,000 a year, is peanuts. How many times do we go for fundraising for someone who represented this country that we cannot even afford to treat them? How shameful is that as a country? That is why it reaches a point whereby you have to call a spade a spade. As Wilfred Bungei, I've always said I will stand with our sportsmen and women because of the glory they have brought to our country. And I will call any other name without fear, because these are people who have sold our country. Apart from the two things, the only thing we are being known is our wildlife and sports, period, nothing else.
Thank you very much. We have one more question. It's very nice, balanced conversation.
Who are supposed to be the implementers? We have had so many policies in this country, but unfortunately, when it comes to implementation, it is always a challenge. And I challenge the administrators to be able to look at these policies. Sometimes you can be in a position, but you don't do anything. I always say, leave a place better than you found. And I think, if we have this conversation, because sometimes, if you look at, for example, I think there is a rule at the moment, which I don't know if it will be implemented, over 2 terms for any positions you vie, especially for the chairs and the presidents. But we all know, as she said, when it comes to implementing those policies that we have put, will be a challenge. There is always a comfort, on individuals in the position they are holding. So I think the more we have this conversation, the more it will be better. And that is why I still congratulate Soya for having a different conversation this year, so that when it comes to performance at the end of this year, when we see the results that we see, already we had at the early beginning a conversation that is different from what we are being used to come and celebrate success without knowing the journey that these people go through. So for that question, I would always say the implementers as the sports administrators, the Ministry of Sports should be able to go to every field and see that the policies that are there are being implemented. I think that way you will have done a lot of favor to our people, and it will mean a lot to us. Thank you so much. Asante sana.